Welcome to the Modern Day Podcast. We are joined here by the legend himself,
No
John
way.
Park.
This is awesome.
Just so you know, a little thing is popping up on the screen that says your name.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going back. All right. So here's me and Carly. Before we begin, I just want to say that this episode is brought to you by Audible. You can use my code to get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. How many frees is that? That's so many frees. So just go to audibletrial.com/moderndayjames. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Yeah. So do that. It's also brought to you by Skillshare. Use my Skillshare code. I don't know what it is. It's some interesting little URL. It's down in the link below. You can click it. You get a free trial. I think it's like 2 months for free. It's pretty awesome. This episode is brought to you also by patrons who are really cool and help pay rent. They are wonderful people, and they keep the whole thing, they keep the dream alive, let's say. And yeah, if you want, all these are going to be available on iTunes now, soon to be available on Spotify. Yeah, so keep doing it. All right, so we're going back. All right, John, so for those of the listeners that might not know because they're fresh off the boat, fresh out of their mother's womb, they might not know who you are. So why don't you just give a quick introduction to who you are?
Hey guys, I'm John. I'm a concept artist working in the film and video game industry, predominantly in film. I've worked on movies such as Godzilla, Star Wars Rogue One, and I actually just got off a large long-term project with James Cameron on the Avatar sequels.
Jesus Christ.
So it's been a really fun career experience, still going.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm really excited to be here, man. And again, I'm still looking around at your setup. I'm like, this is so cool, dude.
It's really cool, right?
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
love it. I'm just obsessed. Like, I'm over here switching cameras, but it's super cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can talk about with like the James Cameron experience or working with like any producers? I know there's a lot of non-disclosures and stuff, but can you share some of that experience?
It is the craziest job and studio experience I've ever had. I think it's one of the only times I felt really not only challenged but insecure about my own abilities. Because I've once you've kind of been in it for a little while, you're like, okay, I kind of know what it's about. I've been working, like, I can paint. I know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
But when I went there, like, I had to really reevaluate. And I'm like, I am a guppy in a freaking ocean, dude, of like sharks, man.
And is that because of the amount of artists there and the quality that they're putting out, or is that because of like the deadlines and the way producers are?
It was everything above. It was first off, it was an artist for sure.
Okay.
If you guys aren't familiar with Dylan Cole and Ben Proctor, they are the production designers. And then below them is basically all the conceptual designers, such as Fausto Di Martini, Stephen Messing, Jonathan Bach, Nick Jindro, Saiful Haku, Jonathan Berube, Joe Pepe. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Anise Naim, Finian McManus.
Oh, he's crazy.
James Chung, Paul Osmo, and I think I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of other people. Constantine. Zachary Berger, Daphne. I hope I'm not missing anybody. I'm gonna offend someone if I forget. Shoot.
Yeah, this is going out to a very big and very
I know.
very judgmental audience.
Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
make sure that everybody.
I'm trying to be proper. I'm like, and the award goes to.
I'd like to thank my mom.
Yeah,
I'd
my
like
mom.
to thank.
No, but it was crazy, man, because you're with these guys that have been around for such a long time, and they have so much knowledge, but the turnaround, the deadlines were insane.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
It was like I think anywhere from 1 to 2 paintings a day.
Jeez.
And
Damn.
and they had to be on the Dylan Cole and Ben Proctor level,
Yeah.
and if it wasn't, like, it just you didn't cut it, you have to do it over again.
So what's that like when they reject something that you put out and they're just like, oh, this isn't good enough, redo it, or what's that experience like?
They're very nice about it.
Okay.
I think it's just like we're just hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
We're like, if it doesn't look as good, you're like, oh shit. Because what the other guys are pulling out, and you look at your work and you're like, damn it, dude, I just didn't meet the requirements today. All right, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's try one more time. And it's like that. It's been like that every single day for 4 years.
Damn. And that's crazy too, because like I know so many people like in my audience and everything, and they look up to you, and I would imagine that they think that you've never felt that, or you never feel that feeling or that insecurity anymore,
no,
or that,
dude.
that goes away.
You have to embrace it.
Yeah.
There's a saying by I want to give credit to Carla Ortiz. She said
Yeah.
I read it on her Facebook. She said if you don't feel like giving up as an artist at least once a month, you are not an artist. And I read that and I was like, that is so true. I was like, yes.
It is true.
Yeah.
I just started doing gouache painting again, like all the
Oh,
time.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And I start gouache painting, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I'm the worst artist.
Oh no,
that
I
ever
don't.
existed.
I've never painted before in my life.
Oh, you
Like,
never even
traditional-
did traditional painting at all?
I can't. If I
Okay.
can't color pick, I will never paint traditional. Because I'm like, what? I know blue and yellow makes green, but
Yeah.
what if I want this really subtle color? Like I'm gonna make brown. Everything's gonna turn brown.
There you go. It's definitely weird. Like, it's definitely foreign to go from digital painting and then go
Yeah.
to traditional painting.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person to talk to you about that, because I have no idea.
Neither am I, man.
But
It's
I
all
would
good.
like to get to that point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at some point. Oh man, that's crazy. So why don't you tell some of the subscribers or newbies here how did you work up to that point? I mean, working with James Cameron, obviously, I'm sure that's at the pinnacle of some people's career goals.
Sure.
How did you sort of work up to that point? Where did you start out with?
Well, I just a little backstory. Long story boring. I went to Art Center 2006. I studied there for 2 years. I was fortunate enough to actually be under the wing of Scott Robertson. So I was actually mentored by him, and he introduced me to entertainment design, which is what we do
Yeah.
here. And like, it was overwhelming. It was very scary. It requires a lot of really good drawing ability, thinking ability, designing ability.
Yeah.
And those are all things that I was that appealed to me, but it was also daunting.
Yeah.
So I studied underneath him, and I got lucky enough to actually get a junior position job at a cinematic studio called Blur. And I never really, I didn't know what it was about. I didn't really have any other aspirations to go to smaller studios. I just thought, oh, Blizzard or these other games that I play at home, like those must be the only studios. But I ended up at Blur.
Okay.
And it was awesome. It was something that was just like a mental game changer. Like, I everything I learned from school was great, but I had to like throw it away and kind of relearn the process of being a designer.
Yeah.
Through the pipeline that fit a studio like Blur, and that's kind of like where it started for me.
Yeah.
And after Blur, I went over to another company called Blind Wink, which was a film studio by Gore Verbinski. And then that was a lucky land. I don't even know how I ended up there. I still don't think I should have got that job. And then, I'm trying to remember the sequence of like where I worked or who I worked with.
If I were to go even further back, like when you were really young, were you drawing all the time? Was drawing something that's foreign to you?
God,
that
yeah. Well, I'm what you call academically just retarded.
I think that's a non-PC term now, but
Yeah.
it's okay. You can use it here on my podcast. I don't get upset.
No, man, I'm horrible, man. I mean, people, my parents were ashamed. They're just like, you are, you're not the Asian that we ordered. Like, you're academically poor in every single subject. I mean, at least be good at math. And that wasn't even it either. They called me the 2.0 kid.
Oh, no.
I would always get like a 1.8 to 2.0 grade average.
Oh.
And I think because I lacked in academics, I resorted to art just because I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna draw.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna watch The Simpsons, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers. I think was kind of like the beginning of my generation. And I would just draw, and that's all I knew. And I didn't think that there'd be a future in it, and it wasn't until I went to a after-school art program at Art Center called Saturday High, and that's when I think I was a junior in high school.
Okay, yeah.
And I was just like, let's just try it out. Fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna probably end up being at a community college and just get into something. You
Yeah.
know?
I think that's a really good point though, because so many people go into or want to pursue art just because they think, oh, I'm going to get a job as an artist, or oh, I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm going to sketch for Blizzard.
Right.
But they
right,
don't
right.
sketch because they enjoy it. And I think that's the really crucial difference between people that I've seen that really succeed.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I know for me, because we were just talking earlier that I came from a music background.
Yeah.
I used to always just write music, and I would do it for me. I'd write music for myself. I didn't write it for anybody else.
Right. Right.
People that would go to school for it, they'd be studying, and they'd be like, oh, I need to understand this sort of mode, or I need to understand all these things. I think when you do it for yourself, you learn more and you get a better product. I don't know if you've felt something similar in art.
I would say that's the you know what's interesting about that, when people say, oh, this person has talent, I don't
Yeah.
think talent's the right word. I think passion,
Yeah.
right? Because if you really love something, you're gonna take it, you know, like 10% more.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna take the time to really investigate and do it for yourself rather than doing it for a job or just because it's a homework assignment, or if, you know, making it less of a chore.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, you know, I feel like there's parallels to, like, you know, what you went through with music and what I went through with art at an early age.
Yeah.
The reality of it was I didn't know that this was a career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, they always say starving artists, like you start to believe in that. You're like, yeah, it must be. It must be
I am really hungry.
yeah. And so
Oh, sorry. We're having some technical issues. We have some
Oh, the,
really,
I just heard it like falling.
well, that's okay. I mean, as long as this doesn't fall forward and smack John in the face, we'll be okay. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. We'll tuck it underneath this microphone.
under all right, that's
We'll
cool.
edit that audio a little bit. Oh, sorry, everybody. Getting some technical. There we
All right,
go.
that's cool.
This is a new podcast. IKEA still hasn't sent me the other desk. That's why John is sitting there in no man's
Thanks,
land.
thanks IKEA.
Oh, no.
Thanks
All right.
IKEA.
I think maybe we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll just tape that real quick. We'll be
Right here.
Yeah.
Should
yeah.
I
Or we can just do
or
it
should
here.
we just like talk about so
We'll
yeah,
talk about duct tape, or do you want to talk
yeah,
about
duct tape is awesome, man. You know, like you can do so much with duct tape.
It's really a great
And,
product.
yeah, dude.
Beautiful.
But you know what's crazy though is I don't think people know that you can make a living doing this stuff when you're studying in high school.
No,
know
you
what I mean?
don't.
Because they don't really teach you this stuff.
I
You know
don't
what
think
mean?
they know. The teachers know either. I don't think they realize that like you can be a pretty successful artist. I mean, just in my own experience alone, of I found so many different avenues with like the podcasting, with YouTube, and I can only imagine you know having Brainstorm and everything. It's like there's so many different ways that you can
Right.
monetize it.
And I mean, you know, I would say like concept art is probably more categorized as a commercial. You are a commercial designer.
Yeah.
You know, we're drawing and designing for end product and not for a piece of artwork or painting to be hung on a wall.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I had to kind of break that that understanding or that perception of like what art meant. And that's kind of like when I really got into the industry, you know. I was like, oh shoot, you can actually work for TV, you know, or like movies. I'm like, live action movies, like you wouldn't really think that they'd need artists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On like a more of a layman understanding, you think, oh, they have actors, you know, really pretty actors or actresses, you know, and the director just has a script and it's just like, just go, right?
Yeah.
But they have a lot of designs and artwork that is developed,
Yeah.
you know, behind the scenes, like they do about 2 to 3 years of development. It's
Damn.
insane.
Yeah, especially the
Yeah.
movies nowadays, like the any of the comic book movies or any of that, I mean, some of the titles you've talked about.
Especially with all the CG and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
for
sure you're experiencing that. It's getting even more. There's more demand for concept artists nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, what else should we talk about? I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm like, yeah.
And that's it. And now the podcast is over.
Thanks for tuning in.
I have a question. How long did it take you, or what was you mentioned switching from doing artwork for yourself, or not necessarily switching, but going from creating artwork for yourself and then having to do it commercially for somebody else or for a product. How is that? How do you balance that, or how do you mentally accept the fact that your work is not yours anymore?
Right. Sorry, I'm getting like this crazy phone call.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll switch over to here. I mean, we can do a mid-roll ad right now, just so you know,
okay.
guys. This is brought to you by Audible.com. Just the listeners of the Modern Day Podcast. Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day free trial. How many frees can I say? How many frees can I fit into this? They're giving you the opportunity, and I'm giving you the opportunity physically, sitting here in my chair at home. I'm giving you the opportunity to check out their service. You probably didn't know about Audible.com because
Everyone knows about
because Amazon is obviously a very subtle company. Not too many people have heard of it.
Artisanal.
A small artisanal blend brand.
Mom and pop shop.
It's a little mom and pop shop. Amazon. They just So I would say if you haven't heard of Amazon or Audible, an Amazon company, check them out. Download that stuff. Head over to Skillshare if you want. And as far as patrons, you
Can I
guys
go
keep
on
the show
Skillshare?
alive. What do you say?
Can I go in depth about Skillshare?
Oh, you can go in depth about Skillshare. Let's go
Can you
back to
hear me
Skillshare.
okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
here, move a little closer
Skillshare
though.
is really cool. And if you're gonna do anything, I would say go to Skillshare because it's great.
You can listen to the Foundation novels on Audible. First of all, we're having a little bit of a competition
just-
between our sponsors
We
right
have
now.
to see who can sell it better.
I want to see who loves the Modern Day Podcast a bit more. Well, we got some interesting questions. John does have a Patreon, just so you guys know, if he wants to plug that at some point. But you should head over to his Patreon. I know when I was learning, I was watching all his Gumroad videos, and then now I have him sitting in front of me. That's what happens if you watch enough Gumroad videos. That person will manifest themselves in front of you. So keep practicing, everybody.
Sorry about that. My wife was like, I think I forgot to tell her that I was at the podcast. She's like, where did you go? You disappeared.
What happened?
Yeah.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Someone says these commercials are weird.
These commercials are weird. Hey, they're not
They're
weird.
good.
They're the best commercials ever. Anyway, so I had asked what it's like divorcing yourself of creating artwork for yourself and sort of doing it for a company versus for yourself.
Right. That's a really good question. Damn. How would I answer that?
Do you ever think about it that way, or is it just you still feel like it's for yourself because people get to know who you are and they
I think I forgot what it was like kind of making that transition. I will say I had to learn the process of making an image or a piece of artwork that wasn't mine and that was not tailored to my own ideas, but that was tailored to the art director or the client or the studio, and I think what I want to say what I learned from school was understanding how to break down the request, how to understand how to create that process for myself, so I can be successful. I can execute properly. That took a while, and I think now I'm just kind of used to that.
Okay.
And when what's kind of sad too is when I make artwork for myself, my brain is still like in this work mode. Like, all right, so when does it need to get done? What is the goal? And I'm like, dude, I don't think anyone should make artwork that way, man.
That's one of the weird blends I think of becoming a professional artist is that you take your hobby and then I always say you turn it into a jobby.
Yeah.
So it's like it stops. It's so weird because like I draw for fun. It's like something to relax, but I need to know like, okay, that's not going towards a video or that's going like I'm just trying to hang out and relax. And for me, the distinction is if I'm sitting on the couch or not.
Right.
That's the difference. But I'd imagine with you, do you have anything similar like that? Do you still go out and sketch? I mean, I've seen some of your pen sketches. They're
Thanks,
freaking
man.
awesome. I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever have any time to go out and sketch very often now with the crazy workload.
When I go to Disneyland with my wife and daughter, we're waiting in line. I'll have like a little pocketbook and a brush pen, and I'm just sketching. Like I'm just sketching people, like in a very creepy fashion. I'm like, don't worry, don't mind me. I'm just doing a portrait. But I again, like even when I'm sketching, I feel like a part of me, I'm still thinking about how this can translate to work, which is kind of messed up. I feel like I have to get out of that frame of thought at some point.
It is really challenging. I'm sure,
Yeah.
Carly can attest that I'm always thinking about work, and it's like one of those things that you
Yeah.
just have to try to get out of your head. Maybe, I don't know.
Sometimes it's subtle because it's such a big part of your life that like I'm not sure if you're talking about work or just like personal art.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It like meshes into
It
It's
one.
all
blends.
meshing into one, yeah, and
So,
yeah, it even makes it hard for me to socialize too, because I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's just talk, let's just shoot the shit, man. And I'm talking about work. I'm like, this is not good.
Well, that's why you got to start a podcast, because then you can sit here and then you can turn your socializing and chatting into
Yeah.
work, and then it works out great, and then you get little sponsors and it works out really nicely.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, like, I completely understand, because we were not when we were at Universal, but I don't bring my sketchbook to Universal, but I could
You
just
have before.
I have, yeah, and you like I
People
for
dressed as wizards. So
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
for me, I have to set up a time. It's like, all right, I'm definitely not going to be doing any work at that point, and just kind of making sure that I don't do that. But I'm also not as successful as an artist as you, so maybe that's
No,
what
man. We're all the same, man. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. I kind of want to ask about, I looked at your early work when you were sketching and we were at Art Center.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like, transitioning from doing, all those pen sketches and designing in pen, and sort of how the industry is now, where it's a lot of photo bashing, a lot of 3D modeling? Do you enjoy it more? Do you like it less? I have.
That's a really good question. I would say as when I was a student, I was such a purist. I'm like, no, you can't use photos.
Yeah.
That's cheating. You can't use 3D. That's cheating. And I think that was my frame of thought for a while, mainly because I didn't understand. That's what it was. I don't think I really had anything against it. I just didn't understand how that was art.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't until I started working at the studios and I understand how the efficiency of it
Yeah.
and the function of it. That was a weird thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the function of a drawing. Like I never really had to think about that. Because I just thought like a drawing or a design or a painting serves an idea. That's it,
Yeah.
right? But when you use, let's say, a 3D model or a photograph in your artwork, the function of it that I learned was that it's closest to the product, it's closest to the film,
Yeah.
the location, it is the closest to the set build, and these are all like terms and lexicons that I was like, what's a set build? What is that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want to see brushstrokes, right? But those are things that made me understand, like what production art was, like what concept design was for film and for a lot of AAA game studios.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate the art of photo bashing, the art of using 3D. And it was, it just kind of like, it's a different point of view, different mindset. And I think if I were to show myself the artwork that I'm doing now, like 10 years ago, I would have been like, dude, no, that's not art. Like, what is that?
You're cheating.
Yeah, it's totally cheating, man. But I think it was just different. It's a completely different.
I personally don't think it's cheating at all, because I've tried to photo bash, and everything I've ever photo bashed looks horrible. And every painting I've ever done with like 3D models and photo bash, it just comes out awful. And I followed your tutorials specifically,
That's awesome.
so
Thanks,
I'm
man.
blaming you for this. No, it never, it doesn't work out. So it really is a skill, and I think part of it is that you're going for a different effect. Like when you're painting, you're trying to blend shapes together. You're trying to simplify a lot.
Right.
When you're doing a photo bash, you're producing something that will inevitably be turned into 3D models, into a real set, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think, especially movie producers, the bar has been set so high for what they receive and what they get, and they want to see it at that photorealistic level. So it just is a different medium, the way that like drawing and painting is different mediums.
Yeah.
That's how I perceive it. I could be off the bar.
No,
here,
you're absolutely right. I think I had that same perception about even Photoshop when it was first introduced to me too. I was like, digital painting that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like just the idea of it. And I think it's normal right now, but for me, like I was so used to the pen and the marker, and I was like, if it's something that's not a tactile material, like physical, and you're doing it on the screen, like it doesn't have the same value. That was my thinking back then too. It was so bizarre, and that's completely changed now,
Yeah.
And I think there's gonna be a lot of other changes too, like VR is gonna be a huge component.
Yep.
And so but yeah, I don't know.
I'm still fighting the good fight over here with traditional. I'm working backwards. I'm like reverse engine.
man.
I like started out digital and was trying to do all
Right,
the future stuff. And I'm so bad at it. It's just not. I don't know if my brain doesn't work that way or just haven't spent enough time, but it doesn't. It's very hard for me. I can't do it.
Do the Inktovers, man.
Yeah.
Are you doing Inktober?
I I feel like I'm too lazy to keep up. I live vicariously through all my friends. One of my good buddies, Darren Quach, he's like,
he's so good.
so prolific. He's just every day he's like, here's another sketch. I'm like,
Us
damn you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so good.
I always see like these really good Inktober sketches, and I'm sure, you know, like you mentioned earlier, like you're around artists that are so amazing, and it still gives you that sense of insecurity. And I'll make one step forward, but I'll be like,
Right,
oh,
right.
I accomplished so much. I'm the best artist. And then I'll look and I'll be like, oh man, that new Evan Amundsen sketch or that Claire Wendling sketch
Oh,
is just
man.
light years ahead. I'm just
Oh,
like,
jeez.
shit.
Yeah.
All right.
When I look at their artwork, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing real art.
Oh.
That's real art.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
you
oh,
are you
man.
dude. First of all, that's false. Second, I like those are two of my favorite artists. They're amazing, but like, it's serving different purposes. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
from what I've
absolutely.
heard Evan Amundsen talk about, you know, he doesn't do. I don't think he does too much. He does more illustration work than
Right, right.
movie sets. I mean, something I try to explain to people on the channel is like, imagine that if you're working on a movie and you're like, all right, well, I'll get that environment design done in like 2 months. Just I have to oil paint the whole thing. It's like they're not gonna
Right.
be like they're gonna be like, get the fuck out of here. What are
Yeah,
you doing?
Right, right.
So I think, you know, it takes a little bit of time, you know, and it's just a different medium,
Right,
in my
right.
opinion.
It totally is.
Yeah. So you did mention before we started that you have many dogs, 4 dogs, in
I
fact.
do.
So why don't you tell everybody about your dogs, because
Dude.
they're awesome.
All right. So, I mean, my wife, she's like the dog whisperer, or like she if she could, she would have an animal farm.
Oh my god.
You know,
Yeah,
I
that's kind of
was-
like me and Carly over here. Like we're just
Yeah.
collecting
We're gonna
pets.
buy sheep one day.
Yeah, and honestly, I love dogs. It's just that I have a huge pet peeve of like when my dogs make a mistake in the house. I'm like, dude,
You take it
why did you
personally?
have to take a piss or like? I'm like, dude, come on. So we started off with one dachshund, you know, little wiener dog. He's like this big. He's now a raisin because he's like 12, 13 years old.
Oh, okay.
He's
Yeah,
like
he's getting pruny.
he's like shrivelly and just like
Yeah.
he can barely hear. He's like, whoa, you know. But he was Sprite and he was like a little wiener dog. And you know, that was my wife and I, like, that was our first dog, you know, together. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. But he got lonely,
Yeah.
you know. So we were like, let's get him a friend, right? So my wife, being the way she is, she went to the pet store and she saw this other dachshund, who I think her excuse was like she didn't want another family to, like, you know, take her, because they came back to the pet store to return a dog.
Yeah.
It was kind of like messed up. After like 2
Right.
months, they're like,
Aw.
oh, this dog pees everywhere, so we want this one.
This dog's broken. I don't. I don't
Yeah,
want
it
this
was
dog.
that. I was like, yo, dude, that's on you. You got to train the dog. But she picked up her and brought her home at a surprise, and I was like, all right, we now have 2 dogs. 6 months later, or like 8 months later, boom, she's pregnant
Oh,
with 6
no.
puppies.
Oh,
It was insane, and there I felt, honestly, I'll tell you, as like a you know, as a new father, it felt like having a baby. Like,
Yeah.
if I can recap the amount of attention, like, you have to wake up every morning, like you got to make sure they're all getting fed.
Yeah.
But there was like 6 little nuggets, dude, little dogs everywhere, right?
Oh my god.
Sausages, yeah, legit sausages.
That's great.
Yeah, and so we had that. We had a litter of six dogs, and we gave them away to family and friends.
Okay.
But you know, my wife
Got
wanted
stuck with 2.
to keep with one. She wanted to keep one.
Oh, okay.
So we
okay.
kept the firstborn. Now that brings us to 3 dogs. Right. So I'm like, all right, now we have 3 fucking dogs, dude. This is awesome. The house is always lively. You know, it's always yappy. You know.
I'm sure.
My dogs will like run. The worst part is they'll run by my like power cord and they'll step on it, and
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
lose my artwork.
Oh,
That's what
God.
freaked me out. I was like, "You little bastards! Like, come on!" Because they're just like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," and they'll like hit the extension cord, and it's just like,
It's just
So-
like there goes 18 hours.
yeah, dude. Seriously, like I had to actually mount my extension cord on the wall so they don't hit it. But now my daughter sees it and she sees this like orange thing. She's like, "Oh, what's that?" It's like, what?
It's the
And
same
I'm like,
thing.
dude. So I'm probably gonna hang it from the ceiling or something.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, and about like 5-6 years ago, we adopted another dog.
Oh
We
my
have
God.
a husky, and I think that's California legal wise. It's illegal to have more than 3 dogs.
Oh,
from
what?
From what I know,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I was like, shit.
Well, now it's out online. You guys heard it here. LAPD.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, the dog people, they're gonna come and you know take our dogs away. But yeah, we have 4 dogs. One big husky, she's gorgeous. She acts more like a cat. She's kind of
Yeah.
a like, you know, if honestly, if someone broke into her house, she'd be a useless dog. She would
She'd
first
be like,
lick
oh, new
you.
friends.
Yeah, she would lick you on your hand, and then she'd go lay down on the couch and just be like, "Yeah, what's up? Come on in." But yeah, we have 4 dogs.
Well,
Pretty crazy.
You have the 3 dog alarm system though, because those little dogs are a little bit yappy
Dude,
most
they
of the
are
time.
yappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
But that brings me to the age-old question: what's more difficult, raising a child or having 4 dogs?
Yeah, I would say raising a child for sure.
Okay.
Human being. But there are parallels, I'll say,
Okay.
you know. I don't want to say like, I don't want to be, you know, biased and say no, it's different. There are parallels because you're taking care of something that is not yourself, you know, and
Yeah.
you got to be responsible, and you know, like, you know, dogs make mistakes, babies make mistakes,
Yep.
and you got to, like, you know, just make sure everything's good.
Yeah, I feel that way about my guinea pig. I try to train him. He
He's
pees
actually
everywhere.
Pretty well trained.
He actually,
Really?
yeah, he's super well trained. He's the best.
How do
He's-
you train guinea pigs?
It's not easy. You got to give him a lot of carrots.
What
Yeah,
the
like,
hell?
You have to give him a lot of attention because
A
now
lot
he
of
knows
love.
he has to come to us. So like, if you call him, he'll come to you. 'Cause
Yeah.
He thinks like.
Really?
you're gonna
Yeah.
help him.
What?
He is such a fat bastard, though. He
He's
just
so-
all he does is
we'll
he
show
just
you
begs.
after.
Yeah, we'll show you after. He's got a huge gullet. He hounds down. He just runs around and he's got like
He
he's so
chases the
loving.
cat.
Yeah, he's so loving. He'll sit there and like cuddle up with you, and he just wants attention, and he'll lick you. Never bites.
Damn.
but-
That's crazy. How long do they live?
Uh,
Like
4
5 or
years.
6 years.
5 or
usually.
6 years?
Yeah.
Do they get along with your dog and cat?
No.
Yeah. No, he does. He does.
Really?
He does. Yeah.
He chases the cat when the cat is being rambunctious.
What?
He like lays on the floor next to her. He
Oh, yeah.
doesn't- He's not.
That's
scared
what
of
that's
her.
what I wanted to say. He's like
That is crazy
He does
cool.
way too much.
he's really territorial, and yeah, he's like really confident, and so he'll like stand up and like puff up his chest, and like he's got his gullet hanging
What?
down. Yeah, and he's like, that's the noise that he makes. It's so great.
Wait, what? A guinea pig, is it closer to a hamster?
They're
Like-
Like
like,
a big fat hamster.
It's like a big fat hamster, right?
hardy hamster.
Really?
yeah. Imagine if you took a
What?
hamster and
That's
you
crazy.
if you took a hamster and bred it with a potato, and that's what a guinea pig looks like.
I always thought a guinea pig was a mixture of like a mouse and a rabbit had
Oh,
baby.
okay.
I don't know. I was just like,
it is kinda
yeah.
like that.
you
Like,
look
it's
like a
weird.
rabbit, but you look like a mouse. Like,
Yeah.
it's bizarre. I'm like, what are you, man?
Oh man,
It's like a
Furry
platypus,
potato.
dude. Did
Yeah.
you know that platypuses are tiny?
what?
Yeah, they're like this big.
I didn't know
I
that.
thought they were big. I always saw like cartoons.
I thought they
about
were.
them.
I thought they were like big creatures, right? Like a beaver or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But they're like cute and tiny.
Aw.
I'm mostly just terrified by their
Apparently
poison
venomous.
toes.
Dude,
Yeah.
they are super venomous.
Mhm.
What the
I didn't know that. There's like a stinger in the back of its foot,
Yeah,
and it can jack you up, man.
it's got a poison toe. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
insane.
somebody needs to make a superhero called the Poison Toe or something.
Yeah.
And
It's just a platypus.
just a stupid platypus. But yeah, he's fucking. The guinea pig is
That's
so
crazy.
funny, and like I have a little papoose for him that we can carry him around with.
Yeah,
And so when we take the dog for the walk, she goes for one walk a month. That's it.
No. 3 walks a day.
When we take Margot for the walk, we bring the guinea pig in a papoose, and it's the
That's
most
awesome.
fun thing.
that's awesome. Man.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any like? Should we answer any like basic art questions?
Oh.
There were a couple that people asked.
Oh,
I
really?
wanted to-
All right.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Let's
So
do it.
Nothing else to talk about.
So the one that I get all the time is what brush do you use? And as we both know, there's one single brush that makes you a good artist. And
Yeah.
if you don't use that brush, you're
Yeah.
a terrible artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's
you need
impossible.
this one brush. It's a custom chalk brush that I have. If you don't have it, you cannot do good paintings like
Yeah.
Jamie Jones or
You never
Craig
will.
Mullins. Yeah, you need this one brush.
Well, is it in the JP brush set that you
Yeah,
have
it
on-
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Just purchase it on
I'm
Gumroad.
just- I'm totally messing with you, man. I mean, yeah, I think we were talking before, cause the tools don't really make a difference. It's really what you do with it.
Yeah.
It's you can use just like a round brush or a pencil or
Yeah.
a pocket brush pen. But I think starting out, because even when I was a student, like you wanted to aspire to be like a certain artist, you wanted all those tools,
Yeah.
So why not? Why
Yeah.
not just try to get it? And so I remember I was a hoarder, dude. I had about like 400 brushes, and I still think I have like 200 on my tool preset,
Yeah.
and I probably only use like 10. but it's this weird mentality. It's like Pokemon. Like
Yeah,
I have
you're
to
collecting.
catch them all.
I have a confession. When I
Yeah.
work at Brainstorm, I think sometimes I go on Photoshop and your brush set is open. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I just want a simple round brush. And I'm like, what is going on? My hotkeys. I don't know how to save hotkeys either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm trying to set a modern day James hotkey brush set or preset, but I don't know how to do it. Somehow I'm still a noob.
It's in, I believe it's in edit or under hotkeys. There's like a hotkey area where you can
Yeah.
like, and you can actually set up your own dock. I just found
Okay.
that out. Like, I just literally saved mine out a week ago.
Yeah, I look and I see and I go on the thing. It's like, all right, John's got his brush set saved, but nobody else does. So nobody else knows how to save it, and I don't know how to save it. And I go in there and I change. I have to show up early to work every time because I got to change the settings to the way I put it.
So sorry, man.
No, it's not your fault. I should just look. I could. It's a quick Google search. That's all I have to do. I just am lazy. I haven't done it. But yeah, I think in terms of tools, my philosophy is that, and I kind of had this philosophy from music, is that if you can make the best out of the worst equipment or the worst tools,
Oh,
then you can, like, once you get those better tools, then it's even like you'll be that much more productive.
yeah.
And
yeah.
I for me, I saw that when I started my band in the first place. I had this really junky drum set that we're using to like audition drummers, and all of them came in, and I heard one after another they were making this excuse. Oh, I can't play that. That drum set's terrible. That drum set's terrible. Then the drummer that we ended up going with, Eddie DeChesra, for anybody that wants to look him up, amazing drummer, comes in. He goes, "Oh yeah, I can do it," and he just fucking killed it. with
Really?
that. Yeah, and he was the drummer on the intro song that you heard.
It would have been
And-
badass if he had like a paint bucket and he's just like, just like going off on it. That'd
Like
be
the Blue Man
sick.
Group.
Yeah.
But yeah, he killed it.
that's
And
sick, man.
and from there, I kind of had the philosophy that if you can make the worst tools sound good or the worst tools look good,
Yeah.
then when you get those epic brush sets, John Park brush sets on Gumroad, see, always got to plug.
Oh
Um,
man.
Yeah. The other question that we get a lot from the students is how many hours a day do you work or should you work? And I personally don't think there's a rule about how often or how long you should work. It's more about, for me, it's the quality, but I don't know
Right,
if you have
right.
any experience.
I think that's a legit question. I think starting out, you should do what's comfortable. You know, you always hear like these crazy numbers, like you have to be drawing 24 hours. You know, I'm like, that's not possible.
Way to just die.
Yeah, it's like all right. I think I got acclimated.
Okay.
I want to say that's the right way of saying it. Is I got acclimated to working 10 to maybe 12 hours per day. But I think starting out, you know, dedicating at least 2 hours of drawing is solid. You know,
Okay.
but consistency is one of the things that I learned. I felt like if you can make it a habit, right?
Yeah.
Just draw 2 hours, call it a day, and do it again tomorrow, right? Is far more effective than trying to like power through and just be like, I want to draw for 12 hours because that's what James Murphy does. That's what all these guys
Sometimes I do that.
you know. And I think it's great, but then the double, it's a double-edged sword because, like, you know, if you're starting out, you know, you might want to take a break after that. You're like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm burnt out. I don't want to do that again. That was rough. And then you might not draw for like another week, maybe 2
Yeah.
weeks, right? So you effectively lose like, you know, 7 to 14 days.
Yeah.
As where if you stayed consistent, you know, you're going to get better, but at least it's become habitual.
Yeah.
And like that, those 2 hours are going to fly by, you know?
It's literally like running.
It's
you
like,
started
yeah.
running, and that's like exactly what everyone says.
That's
It's like, you
awesome.
Short little, like every day run for like, you know.
I need
6
to get on
minutes
that.
or
Yeah.
something.
Cause like in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I should run like 10 miles. Like, no, let's
You
just
start
like,
out, like 6 minutes, and then
yeah,
keep
let's just
working
like
up.
walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Exactly.
You don't even run. Don't lift your legs up too much.
Yeah.
Just walk
Just
around.
sit
Just
on
Let's
the
walk
sidewalk.
to the refrigerator.
yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that might be counterintuitive.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're walking to the refrigerator, you
Let's-
you jog over to McDonald's, and
Yeah.
then you get yourself a Happy Meal, and then come back.
Yeah.
Oh my
One
god.
of the questions that a lot of people ask is about going to like a regular 4-year art school,
Uh-huh.
like getting a degree in art versus being self-taught. What do you think about that?
That's a pretty good question as well. All right, so I went to Art Center. That's what I just like, you know, that was what was drilled into my head. That's what I knew. I was like, if you're gonna get a job, you need a degree, right? So the the general understanding is like go to a 4-year college, get a degree, get a job, right? For most jobs, most industries, it's like that. It really is like that. I think for our industry, it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a skill-based industry. You know, I don't want to compare it to athletics, but it's like if you're going to think about someone who's like an NBA basketball player or someone who wants to become a singer, you don't need a degree to be successful. You need a skill.
Yeah.
You need to be good at it, right? And I think nowadays there's so many options. There's online classes, right? There's CGMA, CDW. I think there's even like Schoolism. You know, there's so many great platforms that are out there, and Learn Squared.
Yep.
That you can learn from the best, right? From the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, you can even go on YouTube and go to the Modern Day James YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I heard
exactly.
you can learn
yeah,
there.
Modern Day James. Like you can learn everything
No,
that
you
your
can't.
body needs. But I think I learned that after the fact. You know, I didn't know that before going in, because if I
Okay.
did, then I would have taken a different route, and I would have saved probably $100,000.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Do you think that you wouldn't
It's
have
insane.
gone to Art Center? Or do you think that?
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone.
Okay.
You know, but then again, it's like if I didn't go, would I have not met these people? And that would have been the other scenario. But if I were to do it all over again, I wouldn't go,
Okay.
because there are other outlets. There are more affordable outlets, and personally for me, I feel like if you could design your own education, like learn from the teachers that you want to
Yeah.
learn from, right? Get the most out of get the most bang for your buck is what makes most sense. It makes the most sense to
Yeah.
me. And when I was at Art Center, you have no control over that.
Yep.
You're going to learn from random teachers teaching you random things that are great and things
Yeah.
that are completely questionable.
Oh, there's that microphone.
Oh, snap.
Sorry.
I was like, first I was like, is there
Is James attacking me?
there's something
Oh,
making
no.
making a sound here.
Sorry about that. I will
okay.
edit this out in the final podcast.
All right.
Look at that.
You live stream people or
Yeah, you live stream people get to see all of the attacking
All of
microphones.
the real this is what happens.
You can,
Yeah.
You can continue with your answer. I actually have a follow-up question to that. Is so having that different mindset now that you wouldn't go to before your university, is that part of why, like, the philosophy that you went into with Brainstorm? Is that
That's part of the reason. You know, we wanted to make a more affordable education. Like my whole idea was like I wanted to make the affordable art center, you know, for people who can't necessarily afford a $200,000 tuition.
yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, come train with us. You know, take a few classes and
Yeah.
learn from teachers that teach at Art Center or teachers that are, you know, that are as equivalent and that are currently work in the industry. And this is like solid duct tape. This better not fall, dude.
I'm
This
not-
is
I'm
like
not-
solid,
yeah.
dude.
I'm not using this duct tape to put on anybody. Don't
Yeah.
worry. There's no murder scene about to happen.
an ASMR.
But you know, to add to that, one thing I'll say is, when you are applying for a job, most studios will not ask for your degree.
Yeah.
They're just gonna look at your portfolio. They want to know how good you are. Now here's a catch-22. If you don't have a degree, it's hard to get a job out of the country.
Oh, okay. It's
That is
interesting.
the other thing I learned. I was like, shit, I probably cannot go to the UK to work because I don't have a degree, because that's one of the requirements to get a visa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't get your art center degree. You.
I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you miss like an English class or
You know,
something?
Actually, well, long story boring again. I when I was studying for 2 years, I ended up working. My parents went bankrupt, and I just
Oh.
basically said, you know what, I'm gonna step out of school and I'm just gonna work. And
Okay.
that's kind of been where I'm at so far. If I could finish, I think I would.
Okay.
You know, I think I would have gone back, because I was so close to finishing, and I was like, you know what, I'm here. You know, I went into this program wanting to get a degree, wanting to get like a formalized education. But again, looking back, it's not required.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, you know, so many of my friends my age went to school for things like art, music, and they're now in so much debt, and like
Right.
everybody's in debt. Everybody my age is just completely riddled with debt. I went to school for biochemistry, has nothing to do with what I'm doing here, you know.
Man, that's crazy.
We'll talk about that another time. It's a whole other Megillah. But there's no, like, for me, like I went to school, my education has nothing to do with it, and
Right.
with music it was the same way. I would always know these people that would go and they would study music, but they weren't producing music, they weren't working, and I think that's where you get a big part of your education nowadays. It's not just reading books or not just doing this, it's actually like putting out content and putting out work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you found that too. You were saying when you were working for Blur, like that changed your philosophy and your approach, probably because you were now putting out work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it made you kind of reevaluate the classes that you take and how it's applicable to the industry, you know. And there's a lot of great classes, you know. I don't want to like shit on Art Center, but you know,
Sounds like you are.
it sounds like I am. Like, you know what?
I'm kidding.
But, no, it just made me understand, like, you know, where there were the gaps.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the reason why James Pake and I we kickstarted Brainstorm.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to fill in the gaps, but we wanted to make it affordable. And that's kind of the whole concept of you know, going out to these a la carte schools, you know.
Yeah.
It's truly it's a trade school. You're
Yeah.
going out, you're learning, you're learning what's relevant, you're learning from industry professionals, and you are building a portfolio to get a job. Hopefully
Yeah.
that's the goal.
If I can say that just from seeing the students work, it's pretty freaking awesome. It's
Thanks,
like
man. Yeah,
a lot of the students
they're
are just
kicking
so good.
ass.
Yeah.
They're definitely kicking ass. The one thing I will say though, when you go to a school, like the difference between going like learning online or going to like an a la carte school is the discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not graded. You don't feel the pressure. You're like, well, you know, I don't really feel like it. I want to watch, you know, the last episode on Game of Thrones. You know, it's
Or
like,
anime.
Fuck it, or anime,
Yeah.
right? Like
That's
Hero
everybody in
Academia.
my chat. Yeah.
It's like I need to watch that last episode, so I'll push it off for a second. So there is no consequence, you know,
Yeah.
for missing a class. That I feel like you get away easier when you're at a like a trade school, you know.
Yeah.
But at Art Center, you're held accountable.
Okay.
Or other institutions, you are held accountable. You know, like you're gonna get graded, and if you fail, you flunk the class, right?
Okay.
So I feel like there is that component. So it's kind of like, it's like I wish, you know, there's a way to create more discipline. But you know, if you're gonna learn on your own, you have to be pretty self-disciplined.
Yeah, I think in general, in my experience, because for art, I mostly did everything just reading books and studying online.
That's awesome, man.
I think you really have to just sort of have that own, like your own motivation, and that's part of, I think one of my flaws as a teacher at Brainstorm is that I don't really feel like I enforce the rules too much in the classroom,
Right,
where it's like, I don't really I don't really create any penalties for not doing the full assignment but you told me that you made somebody cry during a critique, so I want to ask about that. Let's delve into that. How did name drop them every? No, okay, you don't have to do that.
Shit.
How did that go? How did
you
that
know
go?
what? I have to say I was probably a different teacher back then.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
I was not as compassionate. I was raw, man. I was like, this fucking sucks. You know?
Oh my lord.
No, but you know what? There's the thing I had to learn too was like constructive criticism, right?
Yeah.
And I know that when you do artwork, it's so personal. It's like it came out of like your own idea. It's very emotional. It's a very personal thing, and you know, like what you put out there, it's you're kind of vulnerable to it, right?
Yeah.
So when you're being judged, you feel like you fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I noticed that too. People get really defensive during the critiques a lot of times.
Yeah.
Myself included. It's just what happens.
I do too, man. And I feel like that's something that has to be learned over time, you know. And if you're gonna get into the professional industry, like that has to be a part of your skill.
Yeah.
Is to be able to take criticism, to take feedback, and instead of getting defensive or being like, well, that's not what I'm thinking, just be like, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right, and I'm wrong, and I'm gonna do those changes.
Yeah.
Even though in the back of your mind you're like, those are
stupid changes. Yeah.
But like you're like, I'm gonna do those changes, and that's what it means to be professional.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if we were doing fine arts, it's okay to be subjective. It's okay to have people have their opinions.
You don't even have to do artwork.
You don't have
to
to
do
do
fine
artwork.
arts. You
Yeah.
can just like throw some shit on a wall and then just
I don't understand it. I wish I had a better understanding of fine arts world.
I was planning on doing a tutorial on how to do modern art or like,
That's aw-
avant-garde art,
That's awesome.
and it was
dude.
gonna start out. I was gonna be like, all right, here, put the paper down, and we're done, and then and that's it, and just like move the paper
Like,
away.
fold the corner, dude. I have to tell you a story.
Yeah.
I was when I was at community college. This is before I got into art center. I was taking a art 101 class. It was a requirement for me to take the other core classes.
Yeah.
And the teacher, I can tell he had like a fine arts background. Really awesome guy, but he looked kind of crazy, like crazy hair. Just came in. He looked like an orchestrator. Like he had like this jacket that had like these wings or something on the back, like hanging off.
Tuxedo thing?
Yeah, like a tuxedo, like
Oh my
old
God.
school suede. It was always suede and it was maroon, dude. I woke up late for class and it was midterms. So I was like rushing and I just shoved my artwork. I folded it in half, I shoved it in my backpack and I ran. And everyone was presenting. I snuck in and I pulled it out of my bag and I tacked it up. Here's the bad part. It was folded, right? There's fucking creases everywhere. I was like, I am going to fail this class and I cannot take the other classes. This is going to fucking suck, dude.
Yeah.
Right? And so the teacher, he makes his rounds and he goes up to my artwork and he goes, this is brilliant. The juxtaposition, like this is great. The contrast of something beautiful, yet there's an urbanness to it. Like it looks like you just didn't care about what medium it was on. Did you find this paper in a recycle bin? And he was being legit.
Oh,
like,
man.
He thought I did it purposely, and I had to bullshit. I was like, I did.
Yeah.
I did. How did you know that crease?
Oh my God.
That physical crease feeds into the 2D composition, and it like tells a story.
Oh my Lord.
Because in the back of my brain, I was like, I need a fucking pass, dude. If I don't pass, this is gonna be bad. Yeah, dude. Oh God, so lame.
I think that stuff is so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Carly wants to share, but she has a pretty funny story about doing critiques at
Oh
a.
yeah.
Do you want to share it, or do you not want to talk
Yeah, I
about
can
it?
share
Just
it.
because you
I
know
think
that.
it's important because critiquing
Here,
is
come closer to the microphone
very-
also.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're just a little bit louder.
Critiques are like important, I guess. But I went to I went to Potsdam.
Oh
and,
wow.
It was fine.
Did you
I
study?
painting.
Did you study illustration, fine arts?
I
or-
did painting.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
painting
awesome.
and art history. But then I ended up transferring to textile design anyway. But so I was in like their art club and we were doing critiques, and all the upperclassmen were like giving critiques and like giving the younger students like shit for not actually like contributing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends was an upperclassman and she like showed her painting, and I had like a very simple critique. It wasn't even like
I know what it
saying
was.
anything bad about her art. It was
It
just
was
like,
add a specular highlight, just like a white dot on something
Yeah.
that was reflective. That was like
Really?
maybe she gets. You said when you told me the story, it was like, oh, maybe you could just add like a highlight there to show that it's reflective.
Yeah.
yeah, because it
That's-
was like no depth. It was like super flat and like
Yeah.
super muddy, and it looks like she just like was painting wet on wet and not like taking her time, but it was like supposed to look like there was more detail to it and more like value,
Oh.
and like she rushed it, and I could tell, and I was like, you literally, like, if you just put like a little highlight on like some of the little seeds in your fruit, like it'll look more like interesting.
Wow.
And all of a sudden everyone like blew up at me, and they're
What?
like, how dare
Yeah.
you, that's her personal style. And I've seen her other paintings, it was not her personal style. They blew up at me.
Yeah.
I was banned from the club.
No way.
Yeah, like I was
Dude.
they got so mad, and I was like,
Yeah.
you guys forced me to critique, and I thought that was like a valid, like helpful critique. You don't have to do what I say, it's just a critique. And, like,
And that's why you
So
don't go to
now-
a 4-year art university.
that's
Holy
yeah, because that's the type of
Yeah.
mentality. But I think
Yo,
everyone just
that
needs to
is
get comfortable with getting critiques.
Crazy.
If it helps, like, you can keep a notebook, write down the critiques that people give. Like, don't say anything to them, just like write them down, put it in a notebook, throw it away,
You
go
know,
back to it a couple days later when you're less like
if I can
upset.
chime in, I feel like that's objective and
Mhm.
it's like really constructive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It works really well. I feel like that fits in entertainment design. That fits in our
Mhm.
field, right?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe for fine arts, like it's very touchy feely, subjective, like
yeah.
maybe like that's such a great feedback. Like it's crazy
She
that
also
they
didn't
reacted that
have
way.
to listen to me if she didn't
Yeah.
like it. So
She'd
That's
been
the
like,
other thing.
No thanks, Carly.
yeah.
I don't like it flat.
Instead, she got like her upperclassman posse
Yeah.
to like kick me out of
Damn.
Oh
the
my god.
club. I was heartbroken. I was like,
You should have just been like, all right, I get it. Everything's made out of clay.
yeah.
It's
I
just-
transferred out the next year. I
Shit,
had
that's
to leave the
crazy,
school.
dude. Wow.
Yeah, it's so
blacklist
crazy.
that pops
That's
in.
nuts, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Not entirely related, but it just popped into my head because I'm looking at the chat and the chat
Yeah.
goes crazy all the time. Something that always comes up is the difference between illustration and design. And I think we kind of touched on a little bit how, well, you can put your take on it. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That's a really, oh man, that's a really good topic. I actually talked about that 2 days ago with my students. The difference between illustration and design, and where does concept art fit, right? Illustration, obviously, like it takes on a lot of traditional painting principles, drawing principles. More lean towards illustration and fine arts. Design, on the other spectrum, it comes from industrial design, right? It comes from problem solving and designing something for a consumer, for use. And entertainment design falls right in the middle. So it's a little tricky because you have people that are more illustration based and you have people that are more design based, but what it comes down to is you have to utilize both skills. Like, both are equally important. I honestly don't know where I'm going with this.
That's okay.
That's literally what was on my mind. I'm like, yeah, you need to learn both. But I would say, the difference between the two in the industry for working in films and games is that, if you're more illustration heavy, the way you are going to serve or the way you're going to help on a team or a project is going to be more in the marketing art.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like for box covers, for posters, for big splash images to kind of inspire the team. On the design side, what I would call production design, you're actually helping, you're contributing more to the pipeline, to the day to day. When you're coming up with a drawing or design, that's intended to be developed so that it can be translated or it can be handed off to a 3D modeler. And a 3D modeler has to interpret your drawings, right? And then that goes into to texture, and then it goes into the engine, and it ends up being on the game.
Yeah.
Right. So, depending on like where you lean, like you as a designer, you as a concept artist, you're gonna have a different impact. You're gonna have a different role in the studio, right?
And so for like day to day, a lot of those final illustrations that we see on like ArtStation and stuff, those like really, really detailed pictures. What is your day to day like? Are you producing images like that and you're spending a week? Are you doing more just loose sketching? Are you, because I think that's a big misconception too, is what the job actually entails.
Okay, I would say for a studio, like if you're working at a studio full time, your day to day is, taking out fires, right? So you're going to be asked to do about 1 to 3 designs in a day, right? So, and I'm not necessarily speaking for like my past experience on Avatar, because that's kind of a different scenario, but for like a game studio, you're going to be asked to design certain assets, and they need to be done at the end of the day, right? So if you think about what's more economical, is doing a painting the quickest way, or is doing a drawing, right? Or doing something monochromatic, and usually doing the drawing or monochromatic is faster. Yeah, that's all it is. Of course, we all want to paint. It just takes too much time. That's all.
I don't want to paint. I give up on painting.
But if I could, in a perfect world, if I can paint,
yeah.
But if I can paint as fast as I draw, I would paint for sure. But it all comes down to time. What is more economical? And honestly, even the studio heads, like the art directors and the producers, they're gonna say the same thing. Like, hey, we can't have you spend 3 days or to a week on a painting because we need to get this thing done in about 5 hours. What's the quickest way? And that's usually through a form of drawing or black and white painting sketch.
Yeah. And I think if you think about the number of assets that are in any video game that you play, like I recently just played Bloodborne again, like there's crates, there's everything there's so much detail and there's so many assets, and you really need to it has to be economical about how they spend time. So another good question is from the audience there is, how do you prepare a portfolio for that sort of thing? Is it going to be more paintings? Is it going to be more sketches?
So again, good question, solid question. I would say for what is required in your portfolio, make sure you have a lot of production drawings. Okay, they can range from line art to black and white paintings. Okay, but they can't just be pretty pictures. They have to be kind of the boring stuff too. Yeah, like designing a door, designing chairs, designing designing statues, things that you would see in a video game, right?
Yeah.
If it's a character, then think about it in terms of like designing random characters, like those NPCs, yeah, designing NPCs, right? Or designing little critters and stuff like that. And then you want to fulfill the other side of your portfolio of doing something that's more colorful, more painted, right? And that's kind of how you kind of fulfill the range,
Okay.
or have the whole spectrum. And now here's the reason why it's important to have both, is that when an art director looks at your portfolio or when they evaluate it, they're going to look at your drawings because 1, you can draw. 2, it serves day-to-day purposes.
Yeah.
Right. But 3, when your drawings are clear, they know that they can hand it off to a 3D modeler to interpret.
Yep.
Right. So it's perfect. Then they're going to say, okay, can you paint? What's the reason for painting? Is that a 3D modeler doesn't have the same color sense as a concept artist.
Yep.
They might, but generally they're going to want to just build stuff and sculpt stuff out, right? They're going to lean on us to kind of have some sort of color art direction. They're going to look at our painting and say, okay, the shirt is red.
Yep.
Those boots are shiny. The necklace has a certain specular highlight, so I'm going to use these textures and these shaders to kind of match your painting, right? So that's the function that it has. So you kind of need the full range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I see that's absent a lot is like, it seems like everybody's striving to get those really finished photo bashy pieces. And it's like, I don't think that's where everybody's mind
I
should
honestly
be.
blame social media for that.
I think so. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Doing drawings are not sexy and you don't get a lot of likes. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not what's going to
Hey,
get you the job.
Hey, look at the doors I made this week.
that's like, it's honestly not going to get you the job. And honestly, I would say if I didn't go to school, if I didn't have this knowledge, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know either. I would be in the same boat with everybody. I'm like, well, you should do this really epic image because that's what I see on Facebook. That's what my favorite artists do. Here's the thing, man. When you do like these really pretty images, a lot of professionals that post up beautiful paintings, it's for yourself or it's kind of promote, your high skill.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
painting,
exactly.
And when you get the recognition and everyone likes it, it's like, oh, dude, those likes and stuff, response from the community make you feel pretty good. You're like, damn, I feel great, But if you put out stuff that looks like work, like line drawings or orthographics or turnarounds, you're not going to get that same attention. They're going to say, ew, what is that? That's gross. You know what I mean? And it's going to go from hundreds of likes to like maybe 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why it's not attractive to put that stuff out there, but it is attractive and it's necessary to have in your portfolio.
It's attractive to the people that are actually going to be hiring you,
Yeah.
which is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was, I mean, even for me, it was interesting because I got into, I got the job from Brainstorm through YouTube. So it was still a mystery to me when I showed up. I was like, wait, you actually do line drawings professionally? I didn't realize that was a thing. I was like,
oh, dude, when I saw your YouTube channel, I totally fanboyed. I was actually a creeper. I was like watching and tuning in. I'm like, this guy's good. This guy's really, really
Thank
good.
you.
No, man, I feel that what the awareness that you're bringing is very nutritious and it's a necessity. It's
awesome.
It's too lopsided right now. Everyone's getting into like the heavy digital painting stuff. It's needed. Don't get me wrong, but the other stuff is needed just as equally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm on the holy path here. The reason why is not because I don't like painting. Well, I don't like doing it, as I've said multiple times. For me, I just always thought the line art looked cooler. Like there's the concept artist Paul Richards. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, dude, he's
so sick, right?
good, dude.
And I would go through his blog.
So good.
Yeah, I'd go through his blog and I'd see like he just have hundreds of doors.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to make those doors. Those are so sick.
So check this out. Like you look at someone like Paul Richards.
Yeah.
He doesn't do those big, flashy splash art.
Not at all.
I'm sure he could.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he could. But when you look at his work, you instantly think, dude, this guy thinks. This guy has hundreds, if not thousands of ideas pouring through his head every single second.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're going to get hired for, man.
Yeah.
Now, if you are on the other spectrum and you're like, I just want to create beautiful artwork, I just want to paint all day, you're going to get hired just for that.
Yeah.
But don't expect to be hired for the creative ideas. You're going to be hired to illustrate the ideas that have already been established.
Yep.
So
That's cool.
yeah.
All right. So we've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes. Do you want to take calls from the audience? I mean,
Dude, let's do it, man.
all right.
Let's I want to interact with your fan
all
base
right.
and
So last time
some
we
real
did
people.
last time we did this, well, yeah, me and Carly are not real people.
No, you
just so
guys,
know.
you guys are robots. I can tell.
Yeah. Last time we did this, someone did ask me for money. So hopefully, maybe
Two
we'll.
people asked you for money.
Two people asked me to
What
give
do you-
them money.
What do you mean, like
They-
charity
They
or
were like,
something?
They
I'm
wanted
really
charity.
poor.
So
Oh, I see.
so let's see. I'm gonna keep it to subscribers only. So for everybody that is a subscriber to the or not to the Patreon, you can hop in on live calls. We're gonna hop in there right
That's
now.
cool, man.
Yeah. Well,
Dang.
sometimes the art people are really shy though, and they don't want to chat. Or like, I've had a bunch of people come in and they'll start, they'll join the call, but then they won't say anything. So
So it's just silence.
so sometimes it's not very exciting.
Feel free to ask anything. I mean, even if you think it's a dumb question, it's not going to be a dumb question. It's going to be really good.
I have a
and-
really good question,
All right.
and I'm not just boasting. What is your spirit animal?
Yes.
My spirit animal.
Your spirit animal, yes.
Oh, damn. Dude, I love octopus.
Octopus.
Yeah.
Why? Oh wait, why octopus? You have to
Or
explain that.
was it cuttlefish?
Okay,
Oh,
cuttlefish.
fish are so cute.
Because of how adaptive they are to their environment. And I love like one of my favorite characters on Marvel and also on Naruto, the
Yep.
anime, is I love Kakashi. He's a copy ninja, and I love what's his name? A Rogue. I like Rogue
Okay.
It's weird.
Rogue from
from
X-Men?
Marvel, X-Men.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Because she has the ability to like borrow powers,
Mhm.
and I like the idea of trying out different styles. And I'm like, yeah, dude, my spirit animal. If I die and reincarnate, I want to be an octopus,
Oh my god.
so I can turn into like a barnacle or like some sort of coral reef if I need to hide from my enemies.
That's awesome. That was like a surprisingly great response for a question that I thought was gonna
Really like it.
flop.
Yeah,
Carly, do you have any interesting
Hey,
questions?
It was not going to be a flop. It was my
No, I'm sorry. That was your
that's a
question.
good. That's a good question.
I just insulted. Now I'm in the
It's my
doghouse. I'm
favorite
sorry.
question to ask
Yeah.
people, so.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be kind of random. But do you have any? You had some other questions. I don't know if we answered them already or
We
if we.
answered them, yeah.
All right, we answered all the questions, and it seems like.
Someone had a question about developing personal style.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good. Let's talk
Oh.
about that.
Like throughout
Damn.
the years, like
What a great shit. What? How do you develop personal style?
I have a lot of answers to that, but I'll let you go first since
Okay.
it's your interview.
I'm gonna give. It's just gonna be a pretty crappy answer. I feel it. I know.
it's a really hard one to answer.
It's a hard one, man, because okay, honestly, the way I think I developed a personal style is I followed really closely to the artists that I admired, and I kept it to about 2, maybe 3 artists tops, right? And I just try to emulate their style over and over again. Now here's the kicker: is I think if I look at them as ingredients, I use their ingredients, right? And if I was cooking like if I'm talking food analogies, because I always do this, if I'm cooking Italian one day, and I'm getting used to it, I'm like, dude, yeah, I can make bomb pasta, right? And I'm cooking Chinese food the other day, right? And I'm like, damn, I got my fried rice down, right?
Yeah.
Fucking soy sauce, whatever's. At some point, I'm gonna get curious and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna make pasta fried rice.
Oh shit.
I'm going to fusion this shit. I think
Yeah.
that's where my own style was born. I don't want to say that I have a real distinct style, but I
You
know
do.
that a lot of thanks, man. I know that a lot of the DNA of my artwork actually comes from several artists that I really admire, and it's funny that you asked that because when I met Craig Mullins in person, which I have
Yeah.
to say is like one of the most inspiring moments that I've ever had, meeting another artist. I asked him, like, when you are painting these images, like, what's going through your head, you know?
Yeah.
And I was totally fanboying. I was just sitting there like, oh my God.
Nervous, sweating.
I'm going to get the answers to become an art god. I know it. But, you know, what he gave was such an awesome but really profound answer, which was he thinks like he's a method painter.
Yeah.
He's like a method actor, but in painting form, right? So when he paints water, I honestly believe he was like, how would Ian McKay paint a character, and would he handle the clothing like Drew Struzan? You know, you're like, what the hell? These are really weird references, but it
Yeah.
makes sense because when you look at his artwork, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when he gets into like the foliage or water, he's like, and then the water will be very Soroya. And you're like, wait, what? So you took Drew Struzan, Soroya, and Ian McCaig, and you combine it, you get Craig Mullins.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Craig Mullins is the master of like emulating and understanding all sorts of artwork and all sorts of styles.
That's great.
Yeah.
I just want to say I
That
thought
was
so.
a great answer.
That was, yeah. Also, I had a very similar answer. Mine is any chef references, and I also thought Soroya was a color, not a person. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. I'm not knowledgeable. I do know Craig Mullins and Ian McCaig though. I think for my answer, if I could speak,
Yeah.
I guess it's my podcast. I could do whatever I want.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of have a similar thing in the lecture you actually walked in last night.
Oh, cool.
We take 5 or 6 different artists and we break down what they're doing into words. So like
That's great. Damn.
so we write it out first. So I started with it was Carl Kapinski, Andrew K. Marr. I don't know if you know him. He's super fucking cool.
Damn.
Ian McCaig,
Yeah.
Claire Wendling, and I forget who the last one was. But we write, okay, they use a soft edge here, they use these shapes, they use whatever, and then we
That's
try
dope.
to draw the same subject in each of those 5 different styles.
That's cool.
And it worked out really well. That's kind of how I study it, and it helps me a lot.
That makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of similarities to what we're
Yeah.
saying there, and you know, like if you were to take styles, it almost feels like even like martial arts or singing styles too.
Yep.
Like if you're a musician, and if you kind of like sample
Yeah.
these other styles, you're gonna get something from it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think shit, try it out. You know,
Yeah.
if you're used to drawing a certain way, try drawing. You know, Claire Wendling style.
Yeah.
Her drawings are gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean that fucks
Um,
with me too because I always draw in just line
Yeah.
for the most part, and then I started trying to draw like Ian McCaig where it's really loose, and then you're blocking in shadow shapes,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
kind of like drawing like a painter.
Right. Right.
And my drawings came out really shitty for a while, and then I gradually got a little bit better, and now I kind of starting to blend them together a little
That's
bit.
cool.
Yeah, and I think it's like anything, you blend it together and you make that Italian fried rice.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds pretty good, right?
Hashtag Italian fried rice.
Italian fried rice.
That's gonna be the,
What is that gonna taste like?
I don't know. It's probably going to
It's
be
pretty
pretty good. Yeah. So it seems like nobody called in.
All right.
Um,
Oh.
that's so sad. Nobody wants to
Probably
call in.
'cause this is like high stakes.
It is
Last
high
time
stakes.
We got people just calling in because they could, and they were like, I don't have any questions.
All right.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna leave the locked subscriber live calls,
Okay.
and we're gonna see if, cause listen, we're trying to get money from people, but if we don't get money from people, we'll go to the regular voice chat. So
All right,
it's
cool.
we're open to everybody now, even though it's only $2 a month. You guys are so cheap. And then we'll see what happens. If you guys do join in on the live calls, it's on the Discord. There's a link in the description. Someone responds, phone anxiety. Yeah, that's what happens.
That's all good.
People get so nervous. It's really funny. I don't know why artists. I don't know why it attracts the most nervous people. I mean, myself included at times. I feel like artists are just nervous people in general. And for me,
Oh,
like,
dude.
I always treat it like you have to do something to break those nerves, and that's kind of why I do those scenes in the subway or just shit like
That's
that.
cool, man. That takes a lot of cojones, man. That's just like okay. I think it has to do with the fact that we're really like reclusive creatures, man. We're indoors all day. Like you're in your own room. Like I am socially
Oh shit.
horrible. Like I feel like when I'm hanging out with my friends, like I almost don't know how to hang out with normal people. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, I don't know. I need to get out more. for
Yeah, that's
sure.
what happened. We all do. All
Yeah.
right, so we have a caller coming. Oh no, he left.
Oh,
Son of a bitch.
dang.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer though. I think most of us, most artists have this like reclusive tendencies, and
Yeah.
I think part of it is like you're naturally a reclusive person, so then you're
Yeah.
like, well, I have nobody to hang out with, so what am I gonna do?
Well, it also just takes so much energy to like sit and steep all day. Like,
Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
about what to draw. It's pretty tiring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It's true.
When I draw, like that's all I will do for the rest of the day. Like,
All right.
I'll get some drawings done,
have
and
our
then I'll be
call.
like, I'm so tired, I can't.
Oh,
All
Continue
right,
doing
caller,
that.
stay on the line. Don't leave. I'm gonna turn your microphone up. You keep leaving. All right, I'm gonna turn that up so when he comes in, we can hear him.
Easy blasts out your day
He's
or
very sad that when he hops in, he's not allowed to chat. Sorry, we're still working out the kinks here. This is the second episode. I don't know if you happened to watch the first one, John, but it wasn't
It wasn't great.
it wasn't great. But this has gone much better. I'm very happy with how this is coming out.
But I think I saw it. Was it with you, Carly? Like,
Yeah.
no, that one was
We
great.
were just
Oh,
babbling
okay.
for,
Yeah,
that
like,
was
an hour
awesome.
and a half.
I liked it.
Yeah, we have a thing where I've decided we're going to do a segment where we come up with new parts of our relationship story each time. So it's
That's
just
awesome.
like it's gonna be completely made up. But yeah, we'll do that at some point. All right. So I don't think any calls are coming in.
Ask them to send us stories.
Oh, okay. We do have some people sending in stories. We did have. I'm trying to get all this stuff. 'Cause
We'll pick it before. Let's not do it this time.
okay, yeah, we'll
What
do
we're
it another
doing is
time.
every week when we do a podcast,
Uh-huh.
we're having people send us stories, and we'll pick the best one. Like it could be about anything.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
whatever's like
whoa.
the most interesting.
Wait, we have a caller. Danny, you are on the line. Dan, I know him pretty well because he's always on Discord, and he talks to Clamps.
What's up, guys?
Hey, buddy.
How's it going, man?
Nice, man. I'm just chilling.
You're chilling or gymming?
Chilling. I'm too fat to be gymming.
All right, understandable. Do you have a question for John, my friend?
I do, if he doesn't mind answering.
Sure.
Okay, so when you're making a drawing or composition art style, and you wanted to make a specific feel,
Mm-hmm.
and you go, how do you approach making such drawing?
That's a
You know,
really
do you go composition first? Do you take feelings? Do you let lines describe your feelings? Or do you do it intentionally or not intentionally?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question, Danny. The one thing that I try to capture is the feeling of the composition. You know, so for example, if I'm doing like a keyframe, oftentimes like I'll have like an image in your head, right? Or maybe a film reference, and if I want to just capture that right feeling of the angle of the camera, then I'm going to try to get the same perspective, a very similar composition, you know, and then that's kind of how I start, and then I'll build that up into like color and lighting and things like that.
See, isn't this cool? How we can just have people call in. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just want to say it's super awesome.
That was an awesome question, though. That's good.
Yeah, and Danny is a friend of the channel. We have a couple people that like linger in the Discord, and we've become pretty familiar with them. One of them is dating our old roommate.
Oh,
which is
really?
really funny.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
there's this girl from Slovenia that's dating
Yeah.
our friend from New York. It's a crazy story. We have a whole weird channel things going on, but Dan is always in here chatting with me.
Did that answer your question, Dan? It was that like kind
Yeah,
of.
but I was. Do you do when you find that frame?
Where do I
you
find the
do,
frame?
Okay, I'm from Serbia. My English.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
It's like make a Argentan drunk and try to make it speak English. Do you do composition analysis of the frame first, or you just use it as a reference and change it by the feeling?
You know, I think you can do both. You know, if I want to be very analytical, then I'll do kind of a breakdown of my reference, right? And that's if I'm trying to like get the exactness and the exact feel of that reference. But if I want to capture a feeling and I want to let it be more intuitive, then I'm going to use it as a reference on the side. And I want to just kind of be more improvised. I want to go with the more of an improvised notion when I'm generating a certain type of composition or feeling.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
So when you're approaching a new illustration for whatever you're going on, like,
yeah.
what are some of the ways that you start out? Because I would imagine that there's a bunch of different approaches that you'll take for different reasons. Maybe you'll start out looser, maybe you'll start out tight, and maybe you'll do different things depending on what it is that you're trying to sketch.
Right. Well, first off, I think knowing what your subject is, right, is probably the most basic, but one of the most important things, because, you know, when you look at a blank canvas, it's pretty daunting. You're like, what do I draw? What do I paint today, right? But knowing your subject. The second thing is if I don't have a certain image or a certain composition in mind, I do a lot of reference gathering, you know, like things from movies, things
Yep.
from even other artists, you know, and I just kind of want to get like a general feeler, right? And I call it, it's just like a mood board.
Yeah.
You know, I have like a mood board on the side, and I go, okay, this is the feeling that I'd love to capture. This is the feeling that I would love to emulate and get into my own work. And then what I do from there is I dial that down from like hundreds of references down to like my top 2,
Yeah.
right? Like these are the top 2 images that I love, and even down to like the way it's composed and even the colors, right? I'll try to mimic that. Now here's the thing. I'm what you call like, I'm not trying to be like completely original from the get-go. I like to think of personal artwork as another form of growth and education. So I try to use it as a learning opportunity and just be like, I want to capture the essence of this, but I want to put it into my own artwork.
Yeah.
How do I do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I have all these things laid out so that when I'm going through my artwork and I'm painting, I'm making the best decision possible.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that goes a lot into style too. Like, you're never going to be 100% original. Just get that
right.
off the bat. Like
Yeah,
everybody always like, our goal shouldn't be to create the most original thing and maybe not set the bar too high. I know
Yeah.
when I first started out, I was like, all right, I'm going to design this IP. I'm going to do it all myself.
Mhm.
I'm going to create all the characters and the environments. And it's like, slow down.
Yeah.
Let's just learn to draw some stuff first. And then from there, maybe we can figure it out. But you know what? We don't have any more callers and we've been going for about an hour and a half. So maybe
Cool.
we'll call it quits.
Awesome.
We learned today that your spirit animal is in fact a cuttlefish
I like
or a
cuttlefish.
squid. I'm going to go with cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish are cool.
An
They're
octopus.
so smart. They're
All right.
Yeah.
Oh shit. We have some loud noises coming in. As I'm closing out the show, all right, we'll take one last question, then I'll close out the show.
All right, let's do it.
All right. You're on the line. Are you Josh in me? What? Are you Josh in me? Oh my God. God damn it. You're on
Hey,
the
what's
line.
up, guys?
Hey, how you doing? You have a question for John?
Yeah. I was just gonna ask, what inspires you outside of like artwork, like painting wise, like books, movies, or anything like that?
Dude, okay. You know what inspires me? I'm a huge gamer. And I've actually I played Dota 2 a lot, like religiously, and I also play Counter-Strike, CS:GO religiously. Not to say that inspires my artwork, but it makes me have like an outlet, but it makes me look at like method of approach, right? And I've been playing those games for so long, and you can literally play those games 100 different ways. And that's kind of what, like, I like to use that mentality and bring it back into art and think about when I'm generating artwork, how could I do this differently? How could I do this better, more effectively, And that's been kind of like my I don't know, my inspiration / gaming outlet,
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to close out the show one more time. Thank you for a very insightful answer, by the way.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
thank
Josh.
you, Josh and Dan, for calling in. We really appreciate it. Guys, this has been the Modern Day Podcast. Just before we go, remember that we are sponsored by Audible. As I mentioned, you can use that discount code down below. Look, so you can see it on the screen. And Skillshare. Use those 2 links down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can sign up on Patreon. We need to afford all of the coffee that we can get because we are tired people that need some damn coffee. You guys will be able to get this back on iTunes and on YouTube. So check that out when you can. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, like, and subscribe.
That's what I always say on podcasts.
Like and subscribe and buy that merch. Thank you guys so much for coming out. And thank you, John. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carly. This is awesome. I'm still like looking at your material, like all the stuff. I'm like,
All the
this
duct
is
tape.
Yeah.
this is dope. This is dope.
I'm so excited
Yeah,
about
dude.
it. I love this duct
Yeah.
tape setup we have going.
Let me know if I can do another one of these. Like,
You-
this is really cool, man.
You can
We
come
definitely
on.
should do another.
Yeah, this would be
Yeah.
cool.
You can come on whenever you want.
Yeah, man.
We'll do one every week. I don't give a shit.
Let's do
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. It's been awesome. And like I said, thank you for for everything.
Yeah,
a
really.
job, living here in California, like everything. You just helped me out so much, and I really just appreciate it.
Dude, likewise, man. I mean, you were a huge part of Brainstorm, and actually, I don't know if this is like a shameless plug, but when you came on, we actually we decided to expand, and we're now out in Rancho Cucamonga, and so if anyone's out there, just come by, say hi.
Awesome.
But thank you for being a part of the community and part of the school, and it's honestly, it's been an honor.
I love it. And you know what? I just want to ask one more thing, or not even ask, just say, can we talk about the online thing at all, or is that?
Yes, we could. Yeah. I don't think we can get into specifics, but James, you're going to be joining us on our online mentorship program at Brainstorm. We're going to be launching that 2019, spring of 2019. We're still kind of, getting all the information up and ready. But I think it's going to be a badass experience, just
Awesome.
to see you take like a small group of guys, train them, make them into monsters,
Gonna try.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And I'll tell you, like, I currently do mentorship right now at Brainstorm, and it's the fact that you have a dedicated group of guys that are training underneath you,
Yep.
but that are really serious about their education, and to see them grow and also even get a job is awesome. Like that's what I truly care about.
Yeah.
So
Well, I can't think of a better note to leave on than that. John, thank you so much again.
No, thanks,
Really
man.
appreciate it.
Really
I'll give you a
appreciate
handshake
it,
over
guys.
the table,
Mhm.
destroy the
appreciate it.
microphones.
Yeah, it'll all
we need more duct tape.
Oh no! All right, thank you so much,
All right,
guys.
thanks, guys.
Thanks
Bye,
everybody for
guys.
watching,
Appreciate it.
and take care.
Woo-hoo.
This is